we're going to improve something that needs to be improved. It's basically, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but I'm going to say no-brainer.
I understand that, and no, but every month I hear Gene say that the department reports have been filed with me. Are these the reports that make these recommendations to you?
No, I think that some of the department reports may include that, Ed. May. Okay. It all depends what they're working on and what they have the grants for. You know, so I can't say every month that that's going to be in there because I wouldn't be telling the truth. But if there's I see a scenario where if we are applying for some grants, okay, and we have a need, you're going to target where that need is to fall into the grant process, okay? And if we're successful in getting them, we do, you know, we would say, okay, sure, we're in favor of doing it. So if that's going through, that could be part of, say, Parks and Playgrounds report to Mr. Grahusky, or his meeting with Mr. Grahusky. Mr. Grahusky has staff meetings every 2 weeks, I believe. Yes. Okay, where they discuss that and amongst other things that they may or may not be doing. Again, this is what we pay these people to do.
Correct, and believe I'm very thankful for Amy and for Duke that do unbelievable grant writing. I appreciate.
Very fortunate.
I'm very glad that we have those talented people here in the district. I just wanted to understand. Do we write grants first and then try, or do we see a need and then go find a grant?
It's almost the chicken before the egg.
Right, which one comes first?
Grants are advertised.
Right.
And we review them on a weekly, monthly basis, whatever they come. Now, as grants are advertised, we take a look and say, do we have a need? Or even if we don't have a need, is there a way we could use the money? But when playground recreation grants come up, every one we see we apply for because they're used a lot. There's a lot of wear and tear, so we're constantly having to fix, modify, and upgrade. So Duke goes through these every year. We get a grant like this, and he's been very good at being able to apply for it. It's a very short grant. The Green Acres grant comes up every other year, every once in a while, and it's much more competitive. It's statewide. It's just not local. The first one is more of a county grant. That's a statewide grant. So we're up against every municipality in the state when we got the Green Acres grant. And it was one of the largest ones given this year.
Okay. Thank you. And then the other comment was you had said that Channel 19 will be here videotaping it and maintaining it on file. Instead of keeping it just on file, why don't we play on Channel 19?
At some point, that might be decided to do that.
Thank you.
Okay? Name and address, sir?
Gene McDonough, 4805 Oak Terrace. I would like a clarification. A grant is money that is given to the township, correct? And a grant never has to be paid back.
Right.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. All right, I think we had a motion and a second, and I think we're ready for our vote. Is that where we're at, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Gentlemen, roll call, please.
Mr. Figueroa?
Yes.
Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Ward? Yes. Mayor Kill?
Yes. Okay. Guess what we're up to? Funny we should say this. Department reports.
Public Police and Tax Collector. Mr. Mayor.
Make
All
a
right.
motion to file the reports. Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Payment of the bills.
No bills, Mr. Mayor.
I wish that happened in my house, but and I think everybody else would probably wish it too. But, at this point, public comment. Please come up, state your name and address.
Joanne Young, 6582 Park Avenue. I just want to thank you gentlemen for taking my considerations into consideration. And like Donna Zuber mentioned, I would also suggest maybe possibility just taking it one step further and swinging it over to Channel 19. But regardless, I do thank you for checking out for it, and I appreciate it.
That is a great suggestion, and thank you for thanking us, and we want to thank you. Also, but part of it, doing things on Channel 19, we have to get together with the school district and this,
Sure.
that, whatever, and all that stuff. So,
Okay, well, thank you anyway.
All right. Anyone else from the public? Come on up, state your name and address.
Lonnie Monaco, 4118 Homestead Avenue. Actually, I have two separate questions, if
Sure.
it's okay. Getting back to the videotaping being tabled, and I agree with everybody else that said something about that. When were those items discussed? At the last caucus meeting, I remember you, Mr. Mayor, saying would we take these items that were brought up under advisement. Okay, now here we are in a meeting 2 weeks later. When was that discussion among the group?
July 13th.
I was at the, July 13th. No, I mean, the items that were brought up 2 weeks ago.
Actually, that was last week.
Last
You're
week.
talking about videotape.
Yeah, but there were comments made at the meeting 2 weeks ago that the mayor said we need to take these under advisement. When was that discussion, when did you have that discussion, and then did you came tonight and said, okay, we're going to table that? I mean, that should have been part of a public meeting, and I don't...
Mrs. Sheriff, Mayor spoke to the township administrator, who spoke to me about it, asked whether there's possibility to take into consideration Ms. Young's comments. She had very valid comments. I explained that to both the mayor and the township administrator. The township administrator inquired whether this matter could be tabled or the ordinance as drafted, not voted on. And I said, yeah, absolutely. It's his opinion that the township committee would like to do that, and that's how it ensued. There's no formal vote, no formal meeting otherwise. They can discuss matters amongst themselves, between themselves, as long as 3 or more don't meet and hold a meeting. They can talk about this till the cows come home, amongst themselves individually. No violation of any public meeting law. When they gather together to take affirmative action on a public matter, then you have a public meeting.
The deputy mayor and I had a conversation the following morning in reference to this, that it was pretty evident that people really had strong concerns about it, and some of the stuff in that ordinance about, you know, the tapes and this and whatnot, you know, it made sense. It just made sense. Like I said in the beginning, in our try to cover all the bases, because there is some people out there that just try to distort anything and anything, whether it's good, bad, or whatever the case may be. And after hearing everybody's concerns and whatnot, it's like, we could do better than this. Let's get another crack at the apple. The deputy mayor talked to me, all right. In turn, I contacted Mr. Grahusky, told him about my concerns. We always run things by the solicitor. I said, get a hold of Mr. Joyce, let's see what we can do. So rather than have a big blown-out discussion at our next meeting, why don't we look at revising this, come up with something that makes more sense, all right? It gets everybody more involved and on board. That's a fight that's not worth fighting if we can do a better job. So it's as simple as that.
Well, would you say that that's the normal process? I guess what I'm thinking of, as a spectator, me sitting back here and watching you guys operate, you put out an agenda, and it basically has a title. There's really not much to go on unless, I guess, we get copies of the guts of. And I sit in a caucus meeting, and you go through these things, and then we come to the township meeting, and you vote on it. I don't see the thought process. I don't see how it came into being and then was adopted. Well, what's in between there? Is it the same thing like you're saying, that maybe just 1 or 2 guys get together and say, this is, you know, how we want to proceed with this? Because I don't see discussions like, you know, Mr. Mayor talking to the deputy mayor or to Mr. Roth, you know, kind of reaching, hey, what do you think of this? What's your input? And kind of brainstorming and here's a list of pros and cons. And I'm not talking about any item in particular. It's just, again, I'm trying to get, what's the thought process of the township committee?
Go ahead, Ed. And then
To
go ahead,
simplify
Mike.
it is that all the backup, all the resolutions, all the ordinances are forwarded to the gentleman a week ahead of time or more prior to any agenda meeting we would have in there. And during that period of time, if there's any concerns or any questions, they'll come back to me and I'll make amendments or make comments to it. So when they look at it, when we talk in there, we'll say, you have this, is there any other comments? If there are none from what we've made, that's the way it gets through. But they've seen it for a week prior to that, and the comments are coming back filtering through me. It's not we're having this big discussion in there that would take
We
forever.
we don't get them the same time you'd get them. It's like Mr. Krahusky said, for this meeting, we get the agenda Thursday, Friday, Monday. Today, there was a clarification when somebody had questions. I go over the agenda, we look at what's trying to happen. I have questions, I'll call him, I'll call the solicitor direct, I'll call up the deputy mayor, I'll call up John Figueroa. When John Figueroa, if it's a public works issue, he used to be involved in public works. Numerous Rick Taylor, if it had something to do with the school, I would, hey Rick, what do you think about this? What's your opinion of this? Okay, and any other member is allowed to call any other member at any time to talk about that. As Mr. Joyce said, the only thing that we're not allowed to do is get 3 or more of us at any one time sit and discuss anything. So we work very hard to make sure that doesn't happen, okay? So it's just like you. I'm sure you, with the people that are here and have similar beliefs and ideas about it, you pick up the phone and talk to one another. Hey, what do you think that, you know, what the township's trying to do? What do you think about that video policy? You probably reached out to talk to people. I see them smiling in there, so I know you've talked now. I don't know if you talked as a group or you talked individually or this, that, whatever. We have rules we have to follow. We follow the rules, okay? But like Mr. Joyce said, you know, 2 things that I don't think you're getting. We get, because we are mayor and council, we do get information before you do, because that's our job, to go through it, to read it, and have come up with comments, ideas. There's a lot of things that get changed. We'll say, what about this? You know, I'm the director of public safety. Sometimes I'll reach out to the fire department or police department or to our ambulance squad and talk to the chief of that department and say, what do you think about this? Is this going to help you? Is this, you know, and get their input. Then I'll say, listen, I talked to so-and-so, and they think this is a good idea, you know? What do you think? And then they'll get back to me, this, that, whatever. The administrator's the central figure here, and then the solicitor is probably right behind him on sometimes at forefront, because he has to make sure everything that we are doing is legal and we're doing it the proper way. So if that helps you any, fine. If it still doesn't help you any, we'll do like we did before, Lonnie. We put you with the Parks and Recs guy. You can come here during the day and we can sit you down. Maybe Mr. Krahusky could spend some time with you and go over some of the things for you.
Well, again, I'm not interested so much in me personally, but I mean, again, as a spectator sitting here watching this process, there's things missing, because I don't see what you're talking about.
I disagree with you. It's not missing. You're just not seeing it.
Right.
The fact is that they get the documents prior to the meetings. If there's any comments or questions, it's filtered back through us, and we incorporate it in the document. If there is no other comments when the document comes up, we'll say, gentlemen, for the business meeting, we'd like you to approve resolutions umpty-ump and umpty-ump. Is there any other comments? If there are no comments, the way we issued it to them is the way it'll be approved.
But we, the public, we're not privy to, again, that
You
thought
are privy
process.
to it. If you can get up there and want to talk about it, if there's any resolution on the agenda that you have a problem with, you have every right to question it and challenge it, just like you questioned and challenged the reading on that ordinance, that it was changed. Why don't you have that? Why do you feel you don't have that ability?
Because I'm not privy to the discussions that are taking place.
Why?
But you're not making it public. You're not.
Hold on. We're not. First of all, what do you do for a living?
I'm retired.
Okay, before.
I used to be for the Navy. I used to be an engineer for the Navy.
Okay. You know, I'm not privy to what the discussions you had on a daily basis to do your job, but you did have them and shared them with other people before you came to a conclusion, before you went to your superior and say, hey, this is my project that was assigned, this is what I came out with. Fair statement? This is our job. We're elected to do this legwork and groundwork and to filter through this stuff, okay, and to vote on this stuff and have a public meeting that you can sit in there. And I think now after this, I'm assuming that when you might pay a little bit more attention, like, to everything, it might come a little bit clearer and you'll see the process a little clearer.